Hello, today we are going to discuss convalescent plasma therapy, CPT for COVID 19. So, why this topic? Because nowadays many institutions are claiming that they started convalescent plasma therapy for COVID 19. So, this presentation will throw light on the basics of convalescent plasma therapy and its applications in COVID 19 management. So, we'll go from basics. What is called convalescence? See this graph. The bottom is timeline and number of microbes in y-axis. This is a disease course. And see here, the first one is incubation period. The time period between the exposure to the organism to till the appearance of signs and symptoms, we call it as incubation. Next is mild prodromal period. This will be take up to 5 to 6 days. Next is the peak. See here. This time the viral load will also high, number of microbes will be high, and severe signs and symptoms will be there. After reaching the peak, because of our immune system and many other mechanisms, there will be decline in the viral load and there will be mild signs and symptoms. That's called period of decline. And finally the end stage, convalescence. So convalescence means it's a recovery phase. So there is less number of or nil microbes and he will be totally free from the clinical symptoms. That is called convalescence. Next is plasma. If you centrifuge the blood, then we have three layers. The bottom is erythrocytes RBC, next is buffy coat, and next one is plasma. So what is this plasma contains? Just 1 minute. It contains plasma proteins, solutes and water, 92% water. The plasma protein contains albumin, globulin, immunoglobulins and clotting factors. The solutes contains electrolytes, nutrients and wastes. So this is the composition of plasma. So it contains immunoglobulins. What is called therapy? See the concept here. The plasma of a recovered patient has antibodies against COVID-19. So if you transfer the plasma, you are transferring the antibodies. It's a type of passive and artificial immunity. You are introducing passive artificial immunity. So see here, he is a normal person. When he is infected with SARS-CoV-2, he will develop COVID-19 disease. So after 3 to 4 weeks or proper treatment, what will happen? He may be recovered. At the time of recovery, he will develop antibodies. So he is in convalescent stage, he has antibodies. Another person, virus, it infects, he may be elderly person. So what happened? He will develop COVID-19. It may take some time for the development of antibodies. What we will do? We will transfer the antibody from convalescent to the diseased person. So what will happen? These antibodies will neutralize the action of the virus and he become cured. So this is the concept of the convalescent plasma therapy. So based on this, what are the basic hypothesis? Simple. Use of convalescent plasma will improve the clinical outcomes in patients with COVID-19. Is it applicable for all stages of the illness? Is it really true? Is there any adverse effects? We'll see the following presentation. So if we plan to do convalescent plasma therapy, the first and foremost step is donor selection. So what are all the criteria? So WHO, the blood regulators network, they have a clear-cut guidelines how to select plasma donors in pandemics. I will give the gist. Number 1, he should be a confirmed case of COVID-19 by RT-PCR, not by clinical or any other mode. Number 2, there should be complete resolution of symptoms at least 4 weeks prior to plasma donation. So 4 weeks, there should not be any symptoms. Next is, in case 14 days he is free from symptoms, we can go for RT-PCR from nasopharyngeal swab. It should be negative. At least 2 specimens a matter of 24 hours. Because RT-PCR sensitivity is 70%, 70 to 90%. So to avoid, we can do 2 different specimens a matter of 24 hours interval. So this is the basic criteria to choose the donor. Apart from that, all other transfusion conditions apply. Like he should be 18 years and he should be free from HIV, hepatitis B, all others acceptable. See here, the exclusion criteria is number 1, he should not receive any transfusion or blood products in last 8 weeks. Number 2, COVID diagnosis more than 4 months is not useful. So these are the exclusion criteria. Once you found a donor eligible for donation, and important thing is counseling. We should explain to the donor the merits and demerits of plasma donation. After he completely understood what is convalescent plasma therapy, what is plasma donation and the procedures, we should get informed written consent from him. Very important procedure. After getting the informed consent, these are all the steps. We should do physical examination to confirm the recovery. That means he should be asymptomatic. There should not be presence of any symptom of COVID. That should be confirmed by physical examination. Number 2, routine blood grouping and typing and complete blood count. And very, very important, screening of transfusion transmitted infections like hepatitis B, hepatitis C, HIV, syphilis, and plasmodium, microfilariae, all we should routine or as per the government guidelines. Next is, total serum protein should be more than 6 grams and total and neutralizing titers of anti-SARS-CoV-2 antibodies. Now you may have a doubt. I can understand what is SARS-CoV-2 antibodies. That means antibody produced against the virus. What is total and what is neutralizing antibodies? Just recollect our basic microbiology. There are 2 types of antibodies, neutralizing and non-neutralizing. What does it means? Neutralizing antibody means the antibody which interfere with the infectivity of the virus. For example, this is the cell, this is the virus. It will attach. Where if you use the neutralizing antibodies, they'll go and neutralize the virus. They prevent the binding. Once the binding got prevented, there is no infectivity. So what is non-neutralizing antibody? Not all binding antibodies are neutralizing activity. So what they will do, sometimes the antibody which bind to the virus, they act as a signaling agent. The virus antibody complex will be taken by macrophage. What happened? Inside the macrophage, they will multiply. They may multiply and they will produce the disease. Classical example, remember, the dengue shock syndrome is due to antibody dependent enhancement. The antibody which present against the dengue serotype, they will facilitate the infectivity of the dengue. Directly the person second time when he got the dengue virus of different serotype, directly they may more prone to get dengue shock syndrome. That's called antibody dependent enhancement. So not all antibodies are neutralizing antibodies. Need to understand clearly in this stage. Next is, it should be done in certified blood establishment. We should get permission from the governing authorities. Blood Transfusion Council when you are there, and direct DGGI when you are there. Next is, it should be done by appropriately trained staff, highly competent, skilled and qualified. These 3 words are important. Many people may be qualified, they may not have the skill, they may not have the competency. So all three should be there. Next is the equipment should be legally approved, it should be properly calibrated, all the other things. Next is it should be done a standard operating procedure which is based on the standard guidelines. Next is it very important, continuous supervision by the competent authority. So these are the basic steps. Next is yes, when you select the donor, all criteria over, then you can go for titration of anti-COVID-19 antibodies, total as well as neutralizing. See here, decide titer in case of IgG 1 in 1024 or neutralizing antibody 1 in 40. So either 1 in 1024 of IgG or neutralizing 1 in 40. It's a guideline. Or suppose the facility not available, IgG titer against spike protein in receptor binding domain above 1 in 640. So if you are having a specific antibody detection against spike protein, if it is more than 1 in 640, the patient, that donor is eligible for donation. So this is the criteria. Next is how we are doing. Number one, he is the donor. From the donor, we take the whole blood and we add anticoagulants. Then it go to the specialized equipment. There are many methods are there. One is filtration method, another one is centrifugation method. I'm talking about centrifugation method commonly used. So after proper centrifugation, again we can get RBCs, Buffy coat and plasma. So we have separate equipment to store the plasma. So we are collecting plasma. So what happens next? We take replacement fluid along with the RBCs and it will re-enter into the donor. So we are only separating the plasma part, not others. So this is the basic function of plasmapheresis or plasma collection. First we take the whole blood. With the help of the equipment, we will separate the plasma and collect the plasma, and after that along with replacement fluid, we are sending back the RBC, everything to the donor. Next is per sitting we can collect 500 ml of plasma. It should be collected fortnight or 1 month, maximum 1000 ml plasma you can collect from a single donor. Next is when you do the transfusion, usually 200 ml in single dose, what we are suggesting for COVID-19. The different protocols are there. Some institutes they are suggesting 200 ml, matter of 24 hours duration. But as per our government, what we are following practically 200 ml single dose. And it should be more than 2 hours. Slowly over not less than 2 hours. Next is, what is the indication? Can we give plasma therapy for every patient? Because after reading the newspaper and everybody is demanding, sir, I am COVID positive. I want a plasma therapy. Why not you are giving me plasma therapy? So there are some indications are there. Number one, there should be a rapid disease progression or critically ill early stage of patients, or it should be supported, recommended by a clinical expert. Then only we can go for plasma therapy. Number two, patient with moderate disease. The previous condition was patient with severe disease, rapid progression. This condition, moderate disease, who are not improving with steroids, still they have lot of requirement of oxygen requirement is progressively increased. So the oxygen saturation is keep on decreasing in spite of steroid therapy. We can go for plasma. The next is important, he should not have any IgA deficiency or any immunoglobulin allergic disorders. So these are all the basic indications for plasma therapy in COVID-19. Next is adverse effect. If anybody wants COVID-19 plasma, convalescent plasma therapy, just teach them about the adverse effect. Anaphylactic reactions, very common. And important, TRALI, you are aware of that. Transfusion related acute lung injury. Hemolysis. Sometimes fuel overload. But COVID-19, less chance because we are going to give only 200 ml. And citrate toxicity also there. You are adding anticoagulant. So these are all the possible adverse effect facing at the time of plasma transfusion. And a small take-home message is many management modalities are available for COVID-19. Monoclonal antibodies, antiviral drugs, supportive measures, and convalescent plasma therapy. Different modalities are available. And convalescent plasma therapy is promising in certain conditions, not all conditions. Patient is having mild symptom. There is no drop in oxygen saturation, improving with steroids or other drugs. No need for the therapy. So it is promising in certain conditions. That is important. Third one. Now need to create awareness about plasma donation. So we need improve or we need do some important interventions to increase the plasma donation rate. And exclusive guideline, nationwide guideline and standard operating procedure for convalescent plasma therapy for COVID-19 is the need of the hour. Hope you all enjoy this small presentation, and this is my email ID and my mobile number, and this is my YouTube channel. Subscribe me, and whatever doubts and discussion, welcome. Thank you very much.